I received a remark the other day asking what are some solid dividend growth stocks to look into. So in today's video, I am recommending 5 stocks for you that must primarily match 4 requirements. They need to have a minimum of 2% yield because anything less than that is a very modest dividend. We want at least 2% and a payout ratio of less than 50%. So there is a lot of room to grow the dividend even more and still pay greater dividends over time. We also want a double-digit dividend growth rate to ensure that management is serious about increasing the payout. We also want a track record of management sticking to their word and expanding their dividend over time. We'd also like the stock prices to be somewhat appealing for the long term at today's levels. As a result, this video will be entertaining. I chose 5 stocks that match the majority of these requirements. But first, please accept my warmest greeting if this is your first time here at the Smart Stocks Academy channel. Now, to be the first to know when a new video like this is released, hit the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell next to it. Now let's get to the video as soon as possible. I suppose I'll start with a stock that I actually own and like owning because of the wonderful dividend it pays. And that stock is none other than AbbVie, a well-known biotech company. They are the makers of Humira, which is expected to be the best-selling medicine this year, with sales of more than $20 billion for just that one product. Skyrizi and Rinvoq, 2 of their newer autoimmune disease medications, is estimated to generate over $15 billion in sales by 2025. AbbVie also completed a $60 billion acquisition for Allergan, giving them further exposure to various therapeutic sectors, including Allergan's experience in medical aesthetics, vision care, the central nervous system, and gastrointestinal problems. AbbVie now owns around 40 different products and has a massive pipeline. As a result, their net income more than doubled in 2021, while sales increased by more than $10 billion. Their stock price is also very high right now, considering that it trades near an all-time high. But even at this level, the valuation is still significantly lower than the rest of the sector, and their dividend remains one of the most attractive in the market, with a yield of 3.34% and a low payout ratio of 44%, making it very safe. And yet despite the large yield, they still have a 5-year growth rate of close to 20%. If you think that's good, the dividend growth history of only 8 years listed there is actually inaccurate because it excludes their vast history prior to being spun off, which everyone includes. AbbVie is actually considered a dividend king with a growth history of 50 years in a row. Moving on to stock number 2, we will look at Lockheed Martin, which is a stock that I don't hold but have considered several times because of their business stability and attractively expanding dividend. To begin with, Lockheed is a global security aerospace and defense type of company with huge businesses in military aircraft, cybersecurity, missile defense, and even space exploration and defense, which we all know is going to be a high-growth market in the future, given that the US of course created an entirely new military branch just for that, called Space Force, a couple of years ago. Nobody expects military and defense spending to decrease, especially right now during the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, and with China becoming a large global player. And you know, there are always tensions there. The likelihood that they will try to invade Taiwan at some point, and all of these different things can escalate into larger global conflicts at any time. In fact, the globe spent approximately $2 trillion in military alone in 2020, with the United States accounting for about half of that total, which is wonderful news for Lockheed Martin, which generally generates around 70% of its sales from the US government alone. The disadvantage is that Lockheed's financials will never see extremely rapid growth because, as you may know, US military spending grows in modest increments every year. However, because it is already so enormous, it provides Lockheed with huge sales and earnings, a lot of stability, and a lot of long-term contracts, making it one of the safest dividend options available. Unfortunately, the stock is trading at some of the highest levels in history, so it has been a little suppressed in my opinion. leaving its dividend yield at 2.5% with a low payout ratio of 41%. Just about double-digit growth rate and nearly 2 decades of consecutive growth to top it all off. Okay, moving on to stock number 3. We will have to return to another biotech for a while and speak about Amgen, which, like AbbVie, has a powerful product pipeline that includes 10 blockbuster pharmaceuticals that each generate over $1 billion. Amgen too is dealing with patent expirations, which has kept the stock up a little more than 50% over the last 5 years. A little repressed there, and it is trading roughly 30% cheaper than the sector. However, just like AbbVie, they have been creating other medicines to take their place, which should result in long-term dividend that is both sustainable and expanding. In 2019, Amgen received FDA approval for the osteoporosis therapy Evenity. They also received priority approval for the cancer drug Lumacros in 2021, and they received priority approval for the asthma treatment Tezspire last year, which is claimed to be the first and only biologic to consistently and significantly reduce asthma exacerbations in Phase 2 and Phase 3 clinical trials. These are pharmaceuticals that are currently selling well and will continue to do so in the future. They have a lot of promise, and with Amgen's powerful pipeline of over 30 new products on the way, profits are predicted to expand at a rate of over 7% per year for the next 5 years. But it is their dividend that truly makes Amgen an appealing company to purchase long-term, since it not only has a low payout ratio of 75%, a double-digit growth rate, and over a decade of straight growth, but it also is yielding well above 3%. If you're seeking for a payout that's already rather large, but will almost certainly expand over time, this is a solid choice. Okay, now we will go on to stock number 4, which will be Snap-on. This is a brand new stock and I've been researching it recently. They basically manufacture and sell a variety of tools and equipment, as well as provide diagnostics, repair information, and system solutions. These types of services are in high demand, which has resulted in a steady stream of revenue throughout the years. Now, as you might anticipate, there was a minor fall during the 2020 recession, but they swiftly recovered. Now, they typically experience low single-digit growth on their financials during normal times, but it is pretty stable. And I would say the opposite is true about their high-flying dividend, which already yields close to 3% and has been growing for over a decade with a 5-year growth rate of almost 15%, which is pretty darn good. And as long as their financials stay stable, I believe their dividend will continue to grow over time, as their payout ratio is quite low at 38%. That is a very low payout percentage. You've got plenty of room to keep growing in there, and I believe that is what we'll see when we take a long look at it. However, like their financials, the stock price has recovered significantly since the 2020 recession, with a PE ratio that is 25% lower than the sector. Okay, so that leaves us with the 5th and final stock, which is Home Depot, which is obviously famous for selling home improvement products and has become a handy kind of one-stop shop for anything you might need when it comes to home improvement, which has led to a very sticky business that even flourished during the last economic downturn and through the pandemic, because people were staying at home and thus trying to improve their homes. Home Depot's revenue soared by 20% in 2020, and despite the difficult comparison to 2020, it managed to rise another 14% in 2021. After such a spectacular surge, sales growth is likely to collapse to the low single digits this year and the next, but that is to be expected after such a stratospheric climb. Aside from that, as a US corporation, they managed to gain the 5th largest market share of internet buying. As a result of the pandemic, the stock price skyrocketed, but a recent decline of about 30% has put it around the bottom of its YTD range, and that dip also left them with a pretty appealing dividend. You're talking about a payout ratio of less than 50%, an extremely fantastic 5-year growth rate of close to 20%, and a 13-year history of double-digit growth. Furthermore, their yield is already quite high at about 2.5%. When you add all of those positives together, I believe that you've got a fairly strong long-term investment right here. For the time being, those are the stocks. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And with that, today's video comes to a close. To express your love and support for this video, click the like button below if you haven't already. Also, subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell next to it to be the first to know when a new video is posted. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and we hope you enjoyed yourself. We look forward to seeing you again soon.